That show me subscribe.
Make no mistake, we're the only black people in y'all that only eat rat, eat cat people. You ain't black, you ain't that. Matter of fact, your black is repo, I'm taking it back. Cause y'all making it whack, faking jacks, y'all from the slave, raiding the tax. Bitch. We built the foundation, our innovations were groundbreaking. Y'all ain't wanna get down, now you're around, hating, faking, with the linear in and out, the ground shaking. Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Make no mistake, we're the only black people and y'all the only eat rat, eat cat people. You ain't black, you ain't that. Matter of fact, your black is repo, I'm taking it back. Cause y'all making it whack, faking jacks, y'all from the slave, raiding the tax. Breaks, pops, pop. We built the foundation, our innovations were groundbreaking. Y'all ain't wanna get down, now you're around, hating, faking, wiggling and eating, now the ground shaking. Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say, Someone say, FBA, we don't run away. We stay, we slay, we pray, we say,
Thank you. Let's get it. 004 for the lineage love, the early, or I should say the late lineage love, 11:50 p.m. You dig? Friday night going into the AM, Saturday early AM. Yes, 3 lives and one day before 12 a.m. I went live yesterday, but it was around like 1:40 a.m. So that really didn't count. That was the next day. So I said, let me try to put together something where I got 3 lives in one day, different topics and different information, cooking. So, you know, we are adults, right? And some of us are older adults, and we got to be careful not to be set in our ways, man. We get set in our ways, and then we start to put our ways above the lineage, right? You might have a belief system that you held on to dearly, but it's probably wrong because it went unchallenged. Nobody really challenged it with love. You did. People challenged it maybe with hate and scrutiny and jealousy and envy, but nobody actually challenged your thought with love. So I kept warning. I said, family, a lot of your thoughts. I know we know who are the ops, white supremacists. We know tethers and Pan-Africanists. All right. And I was saying to y'all, some of y'all are borrowing concepts of conservatives, racist conservatives, and don't know it. Some of you are borrowing thoughts from Pan-Africanists and do not know it. So it's going to eventually rear its head as long as we keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper in conversations. You feel me? And this is time. It's time to nip some stuff in the bud. Okay. That's right, FBA Convo. Yeah, so and you know what? Some of y'all are comfortable in your misinformation. That's just a fact. You're comfortable in your misinformation and you don't want to be challenged. So Unique came on earlier. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he lost connection. All right. But it seemed like once I challenged his whatever he was doing, once he got challenged, he got hot, he hopped off. That's what it appears like. So Unique can maybe come back and you know, represent himself. Maybe his connection went out, but it just didn't look good. We got to be careful doing Jewish analogies and not knowing anything about the Jewish community. He made some analogies that didn't line up. They were flawed. They were inaccurate. The Jewish people always had help. They were never by themselves. You see, he made that analogy. Uh, Listen, if anybody is telling you we can do it by ourselves, that is Pan-Africanist rhetoric. And I really truly starting to believe that Pan-Africanists, like I'm talking about no doubt believe that Pan-Africanists are informants of white supremacy because we can do it by ourselves. That's that pull yourself up by your bootstraps talk. And look, okay, let me back you up. Marcus Garvey, I believe, was implanted in black society. He came with an ideology that was opposed to all of our activists and you could say leaders at that time and before. For 100 years, we were fighting for civil rights, starting with Frederick Douglass, starting from the free blacks like Paul Cuff, Martin Delaney, Martin Robinson Delaney, Alexander Cromwell, Richard Allen, those folks. Starting way back in the 1810s to the 1840s, you dig, all the way until 1920s, 1910s, around the time Marcus Garvey came around. We were fighting for civil rights. Okay. Marcus Garvey came with something that was opposed to that. So we were fighting for civil rights to live in this country and have access to wealth, employment, the things that our ancestors helped build, the jobs we're not begging for, the money that was generated in this country was built for jobs, for companies to open up, were built on the back of our ancestors, free labor and cheap labor. So we're entitled to those jobs. You feel me? So I'm coming with that. So when Marcus Garvey came in the 1915, 16, 17, and he came with an adversarial approach, disrespecting our long over 100-year fight. He didn't come and ask us, "Hey, how can I help you guys? Hey, who are you fighting? What are you fighting? How long or how far are you in the fight? Are you winning?" You dig? He literally came with, "Man, the hell what y'all talking about? This is it." Something that none of us was like fighting for. Some separatist pull yourself up by your bootstrap nonsense. Nah, your ancestors built the country. Screw it. So what? Let's leave the country. Huh? Yeah, let's go to Liberia. Something white supremacists set a colony that white supremacists set up in America. Let's go there. Chaotic as hell, not popping, not lit. They already got turmoil there from the Americo Liberians and the natives. So there's already beef, already tensions there. And you want us to go there for what? Are you there? You ever been there? Have you spoken to the leaders there to see, what's popping? Is it everything okay? Is it all love? Nope, he never did. He just had this crazy ass idea and didn't even consult with the right people to see how realistic it was. Liberian president had nothing had was what did not even know about Garvey repatriation plan. Yeah, he was like, "Yo, don't y'all bring your ass over here, man. No, hell no. We got enough problems over here. Nah, we don't need damn hundreds of thousands of FBAs over here causing more confusion, fighting, for political power. Nah, we're good. Y'all stay where y'all at." But again, disrespecting what we had going on. Didn't give a damn about nobody. A. Philip Randolph, W. Du Bois. He claimed he was inspired by Booker T. Washington. He didn't give a damn nothing he was talking either. Okay. Because you're talking about leaving the country. Booker T. Washington ain't talking none of that. W. Du Bois was a Pan-Africanist, but he put the civil rights movement first. He prioritized the civil rights movement. So even those who were Pan-Africanists, they prioritized the civil rights movement. They knew that this had to be done before anything else before any other plan, any backup plan, any separate movement or agenda. You feel me? So that's why it's, oh, peace. Thank you, DSB, for the super chat. I just happened to look at the chat. Thank you. So we got Big Dog in the chat, DSB, super chat, Lena's love. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. We got Forrest Davis, FBA Convo. We got Let's Get It, as I said earlier. And, we in here. Late one. Okay. So yeah, so Marcus Garvey came with a plan that was so adversarial to what we were doing. The KKK even gave him the nod. Like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let's ship these Negroes to Liberia. Let's finish the agenda of the ACS, the American Colonization Society, that racist group. Garvey like, yeah, like, why the hell you want to dump us in Liberia? Why we gotta flee? Why we just can't fight like we've been doing in this country to establish something where we can, take advantage of what our ancestors built? Why we got to flee, or why that's the only option? And why we listen to this guy who just got here yesterday that don't know anything about our culture, anything about our struggle, nothing. Don't even know us really, barely know any of us. Read about Booker T, great, but you don't know us. And you're going to advise that we just go to Liberia, the hell with all the hundreds of years of our activists fighting to carve out a place in America where we could say, nah, this us, this us, and we're due. We're entitled to certain things. He was a Pan-Africanist family, and he was against uh, our activists and whatever we was talking about at that time, civil rights. Okay, that's 1920, somewhere around there. He got deported like 1927, 29. Like I said, dude met with the Klan. It's like, what else proof you want that Pan-Africanism is linked up with white supremacy? He met the Klan and tried to arrange something with them. He tried to get funding from them. Booker T. Washington didn't get funding from the Klan. He got funding from just regular white investors. You dig? That you can that these investors were public. They got names. We can look at them. We can read them. We can look them up. This dude met with the Klan. Booker T. Washington met with regular white folks who supported what he had got going on. Why can't Garvey do that? Why you meet with the Klan, my boy? The Klan? Yo, let that sink in. The Klan. Yo, the Klan was our biggest op. 100 years of slavery was due to the Klan. The Klan single-handedly disrupted Black Reconstruction, where we were thriving in political places in Congress and mayors, all type of stuff we was in. We were thriving like crazy. Built up cities, getting educated. We were cooking. The Klan is responsible for Red Summer. The Klan is responsible for most of the terrorism, the domestic terrorism that our ancestors face. And this fool went to the Klan thinking, yeah, let's work something out. See, that's what happens when you don't consult with us. When you in our business trying to misrepresent us like they do now. I'm gonna show some videos. You end up with the Klan. You dig? And right away, our leaders like, man, if you don't get this, J. Edgar Hoover, you don't get this goddamn nut up out of here, man. This bushmeat smuggler, this EBA, everywhere but African coon out of here, man. And lo and behold, like an angel of the night, J. Edgar Hoover finally swept Garvey ass up out of here, took him to Jamaica, and they said, nah, nah, nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Gotta go away today. So he fled to London and he was a complete failure over there. He ain't get nothing popping nowhere. You dig? So that you cannot erase that history. That's why I talk to these Pan Africanists like this. Some would attempt to justify that, which is retarded, insane. Just hold the L. Okay, so then you go to the 1960s, right? Again, it was some of the Black Power movement, not all of them, because someone was rocking with the civil rights movement. So I'm not even gonna put it on them. like that. But you had Pan-Africanists, or you could say Black nationalists, who were against, like Malcolm X, against the civil rights movement. Again, like, yo, what's up? Why y'all keep coming up against the civil rights movement? Oh, I get it. You don't understand it. You think is uh we're trying to bow down and worship white folks. Yeah, but that's not what was going on at that time. That's the narrative. The narrative has changed. Somebody put that in our head later. Okay, yeah, we got to ask our parents. Like when you were involved in that, did you understand the civil rights movement? And we got to ask people 70 years, 65, probably at least 65 up and up. When you were involved in the civil rights movement, did you take that movement to be worshiping white people, leaving black businesses to go indulge in white businesses? Because that's not what that was about. Okay. A. Philip Randolph was not an integrationist at all. Matter of fact, he was mad at W. Du Bois because he felt like W. Du Bois, you got too many white folks in that organization that y'all have together. A. Philip Randolph ain't play that. Black FBAs only, what he was doing. Okay. And then so we got like the 1900s civil rights activists doing our thing. A. Philip Randolph around 60 years later. No, we had Garvey undermining it 60 years later, or just short of it. Pan-Africanists with white supremacist talking points undermining the Civil Rights Act. I'll get more into depth. And then 60 years later again, 1960, 60 years to that is 2020. So 2020, you got the same Pan-Africanists undermining FBAs, trying to sabotage us with some of the same rhetoric, family. You're not going to believe this. The same rhetoric that they use to undermine the civil rights movement, our civil rights activists, is similar. They use similar language to try to undermine FBAs and act like we got a cult leader and we're cult members and we're just goofy. Okay, and you'll see that this language is borrowed from a lot of white races. A lot of white races got something to say about us today, FBA, and they had a lot to say about us during civil rights, right? Of course, they didn't approve of it. They hated it. So, yeah. So if you hated the civil rights also, then guess what? You're agreeing with the Klan. You're agreeing with white supremacists. They hated the whole idea of civil rights. Nah, stay in your place, Negroes. And you had Pan-Africans saying, yeah, you're right. So let's talk about it. All right. So I'm going to start with let's start with some cold facts. Okay. Family, I ain't ready for this. Guillory, peace, Donnery. Are you ready for this? Let's start with some cold facts. So, civil rights activists were not assimilationists, as you're told to by white supremacists themselves, and then white supremacist dogs. You dig? The Pan-Africanists. So there's a myth. Dr. King and civil rights leaders were just trying to assimilate into white society and abandon black institutions. That's false. That's white supremacy news. That's African tether babble. The reality is that the civil rights movement was not about abandoning blackness or black businesses. It was about dismantling state enforced racial barriers that locked Black Americans out of opportunities that our labor had built. So the real fight during the civil rights movement amongst our activists was over access to fair wages and public accommodations, voting rights and equal protection under the law, ending legal apartheid, Jim Crow, not ending Black identity. Okay, let's be real. It was about voting rights. But black nationalists like Malcolm X didn't vote. They pushed we ain't voting. So what black activists did that was pushing the civil rights movement. The black nationalists and Pan-Africanists seen that as like adversarial to what they got, right? They feel like that was undermining what they're doing with this global African mess. So, black leaders such as Dr. King, Bayard Rustin, Ella Baker, and others were not trying to destroy black schools or businesses. Stop it with the lies. Rather, they wanted to make sure the black Americans, us, they make sure that we weren't systematic systematically blocked from accessing capital, funding, protection, and representation. You hear that? That we weren't blocked from accessing capital because we were blocked during that during Jim Crow, even with our bankers. Maggie Lena Walker couldn't get access to capital, right? She couldn't get no loans and access to no benefits that the government had for her bank to grow. No, 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 no. So our activist leaders wanted to make sure that Foundation Black Americans, we were not blocked from accessing capital, funding, protection, and representation. That's exactly what was going on. So now, those who oppose this, you guys got to deal with the real agenda. And it was we was trying to get access to what we built. What I said earlier, family, we built the country and it provided so many opportunities and it created so much wealth. So we're just trying to get access to it. That was what the civil rights movement was about. Ending legal discrimination and ending racial discrimination and ending legal segregation is how I like to put it. Okay. Peace to Golden Brown and everybody in the chat. Check this out. Black civil rights leaders knew full well federal housing. Come on, man. You don't think that Dr. King spoke about this, man? You don't think we know? He talked about land grants, the Homestead Act of 1862. Like all of a sudden he's retarded. Yeah, so we were aware of the federal housing, education, GI Bill, and farm subsidies. And we knew that these things built the white middle class. Okay, and we knew that highways, universities, and military industrial drives created wealth pipelines. So you wanted to be in these fields of employment at that time. So that's why Dr. King said, we are coming to get our check. This wasn't a plea to assimilate. It was a demand to share in the wealth created by our ancestors' unpaid labor. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Misuse Dr. King quotes and the burning house out of context. That is the problem. Watching remix videos, edit it, modify, flip it, scrub it, rub it down. Oh no. You dig? That's the problem, yo. We're in over our head, man. We need to really, 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 really stay focused, man. Stay focused. Okay. Check this out. The integrating into a burning house, that quote, that is widely used by both white conservatives and Pan-Africanists to frame King as someone who regretted the civil rights movement. We keep hearing that. And I'd be like, yo, family, listen, man, I don't know what we're doing, but is it possible? Is it just possible? You got it wrong. Whatever you thought you had, is it possible you got it wrong? Or you just good? And you know you went unchallenged your whole life on these certain thoughts. It's like, is it just possible that I'm not crazy and you got it wrong? So one more time. The integrating into a burning house, quote, is widely used by white conservatives and Pan-Africanists. You got to ask yourself, family, Why is white conservatives and Pan Africanists using the same talking points? If you think about it, but look at Kwame and African Dream. How are they together doing a live? One is a African conservative who says systemic racism is fake. It doesn't exist today. Black folks is lazy. Our culture is the reason why we can't get shit done. And Revenue is a Jamaican. They both Jamaican, but he's a Jamaican tether who blame FBA for a lot of stuff. But he's supposed to be against the thought that systemic racism does not exist. Matter of fact, he's supposed to be more upset with that than what FBA's got going on within themselves, which is the interesting part. He's more upset with what we're doing and not upset with how African Dream talks about the diaspora, right? Anyway, the integrating into a burning house. This quote is widely used by both white conservatives and Pan Africanists to frame Dr. King as someone who regretted the civil rights movement. That's what y'all do. Y'all do. The context, here goes something. It's called context. That means within the text, within what he really tried to transmit, not people chopping and screwing and trying to control a narrative to undermine the civil rights movement, to undermine the civil rights activists like they're just dumb. Who would have more to gain, family? Who would have more to gain that the civil rights movement flop? Would it be foundation Black Americans or white supremacists? Yeah, of course, white supremacists were not happy about the civil rights movement. So they're trying to muck it up. They're trying to create propaganda. They're trying to undermine, sabotage, so they don't get any momentum. Then you have black conservatives and Pan Africanists repeating their talking points, but trying to mix it up. It's not gonna work. Okay. So the true context is in 1967. It's a quote. It's actually a quote. See, now you wouldn't even know this. Did you know who he's quoting it to? That quote is reference to Harry Belafonte. Dr. King was referring to the fact that economic inequality was not being addressed even as segregation was being legally dismantled. He was not denouncing integration altogether. He was saying we needed a deeper integration that included economic justice. Okay. That's why you gotta be careful. Bring you on this panel, you're gonna look crazy. But it's gonna be all love because I ain't gonna try to embarrass my family, my lineage. I'm on code. My New Year's resolution was to like try not to beef with FBAs at all. And I did. I think I did a good job. Okay. So here's the fact about Dr. King. He supported affirmative action, reparations, and a guaranteed income. That's what he supported. Okay. Here's the white supremacist pushback then and now. So during the 1960s, white supremacists, conservative commentators, and Southern politicians used the following arguments against the civil rights movement. Family, do you think white supremacists were quiet the whole time? We were galvanizing. Come on now. They were trying to undermine it and discourage us. So we're going to listen to some of the white supremacist rhetoric in the 1960s and some of it today to see if it still holds up. So 1960s, Negroes just want handouts. Okay, so when we was fighting for civil rights, they called it a handout. And that's what some of you folks do today, whether that's a fact. Y'all call it a handout. Y'all call it civil rights. They want handouts. They don't want to work hard. You dig? And with FBA, when we say reparations and employment, and y'all say it's a handout, we want handouts. So y'all literally repeat the phraseology of and quotes of the white supremacists. So then white people said at that time, we are lazy and dependent. Um, Today, is that not a quote from the average African? We're lazy. Okay. But look what we say. No, no, I'm sorry. Look at the black conservative and the white conservative and the Pan-Africanists of today. They will say when they say we're lazy, we will say no. This is the coon class. They'll say no. We need to stop depending on the government. Like what? And that's JD Vance. That's the average white American. And they benefit all day long from the state, and so does immigrants. Now all of a sudden we're gonna close the door because like stop it. If anything, we should be invited to more parties. Okay. So Dr. King supported affirmative. I'm joking when I say that. I'm saying political parties actually. Dr. King supported affirmative action, reparation, and a guaranteed income. Okay. So now, as I was saying, the rhetoric of the 1960s by white supremacists. They say integration will destroy black culture. Family, that's a quote. You got white racist family was trying to discourage the civil rights movement. They were saying integration will destroy black culture. But what about Pan-Africanists and black conservatives today? They'll say we need to separate and do for ourselves. Basically, separate, start all over, which is crazy. But these are rhetorical twins. So the white supremacist rhetoric of the 60s and black conservative or Pan-Africanist rhetoric now are pretty much identical. Okay. So now here's the separatist fallacy that we can do it alone. That's a myth. Okay, so Pan-Africanists and black conservatives, whatever, and they make the claim that we have $2.8 trillion in spending power, and because of that, we don't need help. We can be like the Jews. But here's what they're not telling you: the $2.8 trillion that's part of spending power, that is not investment capital. It is consumer spending, mostly in non-black owned businesses. Okay, hear me great. Hear me great. Hear me great. Okay, so what separatists ignore is we don't control supply chains, agriculture, fuel, medicine, etc. We don't control monetary policies, zoning laws, or infrastructure. Even success, black towns, e.g., Greenwood, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida, were destroyed by mobs and left unprotected by whites. I mean, unprotected by the state. Okay, yeah, it's the state that's going to protect us. Also, the Jewish community never did it alone. That's a lie. So they're not an example. They had reparations from Germany, which you guys call a handout. They had international networks, protected white status in the U.S., huge lobbying infrastructure, APAC. Okay, give me a second. So let me take to be top. In a second. Okay, so now let's talk about how these Pan-Africanists exclusively try to target Tariq Nasheed. Okay, so they try to attempt to discredit Tariq Nasheed and FBA ethnonym by attacking Tariq Nasheed personally. So Pan-Africanists often say, what do they say about Tariq Nasheed? They'll say Tariq Nasheed made up FBA and his documentaries. They'll attack his documentaries next and his music and things like that. His Morris act is so whack. So they'll say Tariq Nasheed made up FBA. We're like, okay. Then they'll say, and his documentaries are flawed or unacademic, and therefore FBA cannot be taken seriously as an identity. That's a lot of them like to dismiss it like that. But a smart man will look more into it. So while this logic is flawed, ethnonyms evolve from grassroots usage, not just scholarship. All right. Let me see what else we got here. Give me a second, family. Shit, you know what? Hey, why my thing was working to now? Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, I'm messing around with the tabs and everything. Okay, so where was I? All right, family, I'm just pulling up some things for you. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. Okay. Mm, nah, I'm gonna go that. I don't want to go that far. That was probably tomorrow. Not this late. Okay, trying to get right where I'm trying to get right where I was. Okay. So, family, the attempt to discredit the FBA ethnonym by attacking Tariq Nasheed personally, they got to make him the leader because in their mind, they take him down. FBA goes down like Fraser. Okay. So, Pan Africanists often say Tariq Nasheed made up and his documentaries are flawed. He made up FBA and his documentaries are flawed or unacademic, and therefore FBA cannot be taken seriously as an identity. That's right. He ties in that stuff. So why this logic is flawed? Ethnonyms evolved from grassroots uses, not just scholarship. Unk. Many ethnic identities were not created by serious scholars at the time. Terms like African American, Negro, Color, and Latino emerged socially. Okay. And then retroactively gained institutional recognition. FBA, like these, is being popularly adopted by a group based on shared experience, lineage, and political awakening, not just by decree of an academic elite. Okay, so attacking the messenger, all right, that's not equal to invalidating the movement. So just because you attack the messenger like Tariq Nasheed doesn't mean you invalidate the movement. So if Tariq, so basically, if Tariq Nasheed is flawed in his documentaries or his music or debate, what they got to do with all of us? You got it. Absolutely nothing. So even if Tariq Nasheed's personal takes, let's say e.g. about indigenous ancestry or historical interpretations in his films, let's say all of that is that's debated or even rejected. The idea and function of FBA as an ethnogem stands part stands apart. Just as Melvin Charles, we'll do it later. Melvin Charles is not called the leader of Black Americans for designing the Black American flag, heritage flag. Doesn't she doesn't know his own lineage. I'm sorry. It says I'm sorry. I'm bugging. I mean, where my glasses? It says Tariq Nasheed does not own the lineage. It's not the same thing, but a little wordplay. Different, but same. Okay, so let's go here. FBA has moved beyond Tariq Nasheed. Many Black Americans identify as FBA, even if they disagree with some of Tariq Nasheed's views. This shows that FBA is generally organically as a socio-political and cultural identity that resonates with people on its own merit. Okay. So one more time. Many Black Americans, many FBAs identify as FBA, even if we disagree with some of Tariq Nasheed views. This shows that FBA is growing organically as a socio-political and cultural identity that resonates with people on its own. Okay, so let's I hate when I have a blank. Give me 1 second. I hate when I do the page break and don't realize that I page break myself to death. All right. So anyway, let me grab my coffee. Let me cook on this real fast. No, I want this one. Okay. Viewer discretion advised. Might be some language choice words. It might be them talking shite, and it's going to impact you a certain way. If you are of the lineage, you have a great chance of, yeah. Let's go.
Old, so he seemed to jump on that clip immediately, and that's when our numbers of comments spiked up dramatically from this guy.
All right, here we go.
Soul food. Soul food comes from the South. It came literally. Yo, bro, hold on. This is what I've been saying. They don't know us. They don't know our history. They don't know what they're talking about. How can they sit down and try to put claim to? We have our own version of. It's not soul food then. It's Nigerian food. Yeah, but you can't abbreviate what the meaning of soul food is just because it fits your particular narrative of what pushes up with the narrative that you're trying to push. You can't do that. That's not how that works. You can't change the name and the lineage and the story of what soul food is and then say, yeah, but we have our own type of. No, you don't. It's not soul food. Soul food has a history that comes with it. Soul food means something. The word soul in general, you know what? This is one of those, if you haven't liked the video yet, before I said this, if you haven't liked the video yet, give this. That's what I was saying about this. These are older women who are influencing this toxic, negative type of ideology who's not only taking the history away from, and this is why I said earlier before, when I see all.
So apparently he's doing a reaction to them and now they're doing a reaction back on him. It looked like, or maybe not, but they're definitely doing a reaction on him. Doing a reaction on somebody.
These European people doing that, they're not like us, live performance, dance to it. I'm saying this is what they do. You know, they take our likeness. They don't learn the history of where it comes out. They don't learn where it originated from, and then they run act like they can appropriate it to whatever they want. It's just a dance. It's just a song. It's not for us. You can't sit down and say that you soul food. We have our own type of way of soul food. No, soul food comes from a history and a lineage of, you know what? I said, I could break this down to you guys no matter how many ways I break it down to you guys. You guys generally won't understand at all because y'all so stuck in me being wrong or us being wrong and y'all being right. So you know what I said? I said, you know what? I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I went to ChatGPT. Now I said, let's make sure, let's see if the AI can do it better than they can do it. So I typed in ChatGPT, is the term soul food from America? And this is what ChatGPT had to say. Yes, the term soul food originates from the United States. It refers to traditional African American cuisine that developed in the southern U.S., particularly during the time of slavery and Jim Crow era. The term became popular in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement as African Americans embraced and celebrated their cultural identity. Soul food includes dishes like
pause it. I don't want to hear him talk. Pause it a second. Please pause it. Okay. Firstly, it says African American cuisine. Okay.
Yeah.
No one's taking it away from from the Americans. No one's saying it isn't American, but the African influence is what we were talking about. That's
Now you see how they try to spin it. They're trying to act like AI wasn't using African American interchangeably with Black American. Family, when it comes to these African immigrants, I'm sorry, man. It almost appears that we can't do anything with them. They took the term African American, and so basically any hip hop, right? If you Google it or AI it, it might say African Americans created hip hop. And then what's she gonna say? Oh, see, African. Oh, it's American culture, but Africans started hip hop. You seen AI? So Africans who came to America recently, in the 1990s, with a student visa or some type of sponsorship, or fleeing their country, came up with hip hop because it says Africans. Listen to these filthy tethers, man.
The part we were talking about. I'm just going to go through these things at the bottom. Soulful dishes include dishes like fried chicken, Caribbean, collard greens, Caribbean, cornbread, Caribbean, macaroni and cheese, Caribbean, black-eyed peas, Caribbean. And all of those chitlins, it's chitlins. We don't do chitlins necessarily, but we do like.
But you do cook with,
yeah, there's exactly. There's different types of gizzards and things like that Caribbeans cook. And I'm only saying Caribbean because Caribbeans again were also slaves, and the influence of the way that we cooked came from our lineage, like he keeps saying, from Africa. No one's saying that you don't have and you haven't developed your own way of cooking. Nobody is saying that. Nobody, you did, and it's the word that you used. You said virgin.
Yo, these are some disgusting tether women, yo.
You didn't say it is this. You said version.
That's the remix.
He needs to go brush his tongue as well.
I mean,
all right.
He does.
And also he said, I think there's one more thing that he said, and I don't know if it was all of it. Let me just check.
Details of soul food, because it comes with a history. You cannot just culture, and this is where it comes down. Like I said, this has nothing to do with the Caribbean people that are in the Caribbean islands. You are not like the people in the UK. And this has nothing to do with Africans who are in Africa.
What is illegal and unusual?
Like the UK, nor Africans on the global stand. We're talking about the UK and specifically. So understand, detach.
Wait a minute. Let me add to the African cuisine. Here you go. Hey, ladies, won't you react to this?
And unusual, these discoveries at Detroit Metro Airport.
Yeah, bush meat. That's meat from rats, bats, baboons, and more. I know we got your attention. The feds aren't monkeying around with this. Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack is live at the airport.
The feds are not monkeying around with this.
Meat. That's meat from rats, bats, baboons, and more. I know we got your attention. The feds aren't monkeying around with this. Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack is live at the airport. Jessica, do explain.
Yeah, we need some context here, right, Ruben, Amy? So this is crazy. Customs and Border Protection, they seized back-to-back bushmeat smugglers here at DTW. Now, the first one, it was 11 pounds of rodent meat in someone's luggage. And a couple days later, they found 52 pounds of monkey meat stacked away. We had to ask passengers what they thought.
Oh, that's gross.
The faces say it all.
That ain't soul food.
Oh, well. What do you think of that?
That's disgusting.
Back-to-back seizures of bushmeat at Detroit Metro Airport in 1 week. First, 11 pounds of rodent meat in the bags of a passenger coming from Togo in West Africa. First, 11 pounds of rodent meat in the bags of a passenger coming from Togo in West Africa.
That is not.
Pounds of rodent meat in the bags of a passenger coming from Togo in West
disassociate, delineate from these group of people and understand what I'm saying right now. The United Kingdom is known for its one particular thing, and that's what? Colonization, which is a nice way of saying stealing and thievery. Now they changed, it seems like they changed their direction on who's going to be the colonizers at this moment in time. With Black culture becoming one of the most prominent cultures throughout the world at this moment in time, they said, you know what, let's institutionalize our melanated community and start allowing them to colonize other people's cultures and stick the white man's label on it. You cannot stick the white man's label on other people's cultures and call it Black British culture. That is disrespectful.
No, wait.
African culture and African foods and African stuff is African culture. Show respect. That has a long line of history of how they even acquired those flavors and tastes to be able to make the food that they have and the culture that they have. Caribbean's the same way. They went through a whole lot of difficulties to even come up to the situations where they actually have these opportunities to make these identifiable culture norms. You cannot take that to the UK. And I understand, yeah, your parents come from Caribbean islands. Your parents come from Africa. You didn't. You didn't come from those particular places. So,
right. And I was just saying, they got to add in monkey brains, dinosaur legs, right, dinosaur drumsticks, and rat. Okay, that was a rat in there. Let me say again. And that's Benin and Togo, right?
First, 11 pounds of rodent meat in the bags of...
She said rodent meat. That's a rat. Okay, so y'all can add this rat into your soul food. That's not soul food. We don't cook soul food with rats, monkey meat, and dinosaur drumsticks.
you have to make your own particular culture or your own particular identity while being in the UK. And yes, you can call and give homage, in which I expect you to, which I'm suggesting you to. Give homage to the people that you have these acquired tastes from, but stop labeling it as, over here in the UK, we have Black British culture and it's African, Caribbean, and American. No, that's just stealing other people's shit and putting a white man's label on it. That's not how that works.
That's what I wanted you lot to hear. How
stupid he literally sounds. Because how did you come up with African American culture? How did you do it? Did you pluck it from the air in a vacuous, we have culture now? It's precisely exactly the same.
Yo, what the hell is that on her head? That looks like a lion mane. Like, hold on. Man, give me a real thing. Oh my God. No, I want a real lion mane. God damn it. All right. There we go. That looks like that's on her head right there. I mean, wait, give me the dark one. There we go. Like, she cut this off right here and put that on that damn head of hers. Look at that. That looks crazy.
Same way, it's from our homelands, it's our influences, it is mixing together, and you fuse, and then you come up with a different type of symbiosis, which turns into Black culture here. Even adopting the title of Black British definitely is slightly problematic, but here we are. Everybody goes through iterations of titles. Like before, it was coloreds, it was the Negroes, and then you had the African Americans. Now you want to be Black American, and then you want to be. We go through different labels, but
now we want to be Black Americans. Why do they mix that up? Yeah, we would never call African American. Like, y'all just be running your mouth, and they act like they're smart. They act like they're correct. You might want to get that timeline back over. This Negro color, you can say Afro-American, then Black American, well, Black, and then Black American, and then African American was last. Okay, and African American is the reason why we had to self-identify and call ourselves FBA. All right, so get your facts together.
But it is an amalgamation of our cultures. Now, to be like that stealing is utterly redundant.
He calls us colonizers.
It's so stupid.
He calls us colonizers.
Okay, so the gorilla at the bottom said, listen, we always got to be stupid. We can't read. We don't study. They always got to teach us, and we're always stupid. We're not wrong or misguided. We're always stupid with the lion hair on their head.
I commented because I was busy last night. I was in the comments just trying to school some people, and I wasn't being disrespectful. I was because I don't do that. I'm just going to be, let's talk. But one thing I said is, like, just basic, simple knowledge. I'm not going to say I profess know everything. In the South, when there was a great migration, when people in the South started moving to northern states to get away from the ruins of civil war and stuff like that, they started to migrate. So the people from the South took what they knew and learned, and the foods and the recipes, and let's keep it about the food, and moved to the South, to the North. I had a comment say that, what do they say, that someone said to me that you haven't been how about come to America and try soul food? I can tell you haven't had soul food. I said, well, I've been to New York, Miami, and New Orleans, and I have had soul food in all 3 states. And then the person came back and said, like, you can't have soul food in New York because that's not real soul food. Everyone knows that soul food comes from the South. So what are you now saying? Now it's my fault because I've had soul food. The shop said soul food. I went and got soul food. So now it's
okay. So these are tethers. Because if I went and got Jamaican food from like a regular establishment, and they said like from an Indian, right? And he's Indian, and I say, well, disgusting. You're not telling me you would say, hey, you didn't get it from Jamaicans. You're not gonna say that. Yeah, they are disgusting, y'all.
It's my 5. We are still having this fucking in-house, out-house fight.
I think as IB Chillin says, a Black American, knowing how white people see all of us, I don't understand how we could see Black people from anywhere in the world as other. It's a sickness.
Oh, yes, you're not Black. Okay, you're not going to anchor on to Black. You're a Jamaican or African or a booty scratcher, but you're definitely not Black.
I think
things. Yeah, like what? Yeah. Let's not forget that the Europeans called us savages. Yeah, all of us. They called all of us.
Well, you behave like savages. You eat like savages. You guys be smuggling bush meat.
Savages.
Rats and monkey meat. Come on.
They say that they taught us things. Yeah. Like, why? Like, I'm just so saddened that in 2025 we are still having this fucking in-house, out-house fight.
I think
now these tethers, they're always comfortable in their own setting. Okay, they'll never come over here. Never.
I think, as IB Chillin says, as a Black American, knowing how white people see all of us, I don't understand how we could see Black people from anywhere in the world as other. It's a sick.
You're not Black. Let's start with there. You're not Black. You are other. Okay, you're Jamaican, Haitian, Nigerian, Igbo. You're not Black. We're the only Black people. You guys are the eat rat, eat cat people. We're repoing the Black.
I think what we need to do, I mean, yes, someone said that they're very Black Americans are very protective of their contribution to the world, to America and to the world, and how disrespected they are. Understand that. So, but I think it's about a conversation. I keep seeing in the comments how Black immigrants in America are disrespectful to Black culture, where they're now saying that so many immigrants saying Americans don't know where they're from, calling them ghetto. There's a whole hate train when it comes to Cynthia Erivo, and I think I remember there was a time when there was backlash against Issa Rae. So anyone that's not foundational Black American or adults, they have a distaste for them because there's that. I think it's a top line.
Okay, so family, I'm looking at their videos on their live stream. Yes, these women they don't get any views compared to where they should be. Okay, and most of their views, not all, but a lot of times they have to throw in FBA Diaspora War But yeah, they really don't get any views. Now they got views on other videos without our name in it. Thank you. I appreciate that. But they know where they gotta go to get views. Okay. So anyway, let me leave that right there and get back on task. Right. Okay. Hold on. I think froze. Okay. Why is that the case? Hold on. I make a mistake and separate that. Oh, okay. So as I was saying, the indigenous Black Americans debate, right? So this is where a lot of Pan-Africanists have trouble with Tariq Nasheed, okay? Because Tariq Nasheed promotes the indigenous Black Americans, and Pan-Africanists vehemently reject that. And by rejecting that, they that's their justification to say throw the whole thing in the trash because they reject that. It's like, so everything else is just worthless now. Okay. So Pan-Africanists, they will argue because Tariq Nasheed and some FBAs include some members who believe Foundation Black Americans were already in America before slavery, indigenous origin, they'll say it's a pseudo historical narrative. And then they'll say, because of that, because you include people of the lineage who believes that they were here before the slave ships, because you allow them to call themselves FBA, the whole FBA idea is trash, is garbage. You dig? That's Pan-Africanist. So what I'm saying is, family, during the civil rights movement, they had the same negative language for our civil rights leaders. Oh nah, y'all begging the white man. No, you just want to kiss their ass. No, man. That's how they talk. They try to discourage it because the civil rights movement was a direct threat to Pan-Africanism. The civil rights movement was a huge investment in this country. Once that is passed, okay, once that's passed, we're not going to Africa. You dig? So that's how they view that. They view that as a huge threat to Pan-Africanism. Oh my God, they're not going to Africa if this shit passes. Now, 60 years later, FBA. Oh my God, they're not going back there. Oh my God, they're not going to Africa. Their thing is to get us in Africa. Burkina Faso, Liberia, wherever, Ghana, residents, whatever. They trying to get us in Africa so bad. And the civil rights movement, FBA, self-identification, delineation, cut the check. These are all threats to that reality. So they come at it and they with discouragement. You feel me? Listen, the reality is the indigenous claim is if they want to attack that and discredit those people, okay, let's just consider those people are wrong, just for the sake of argument, just to still show how these folks are in error. I'm talking about the Pan-Africanists. So let's consider that people who say they're FBA and they've been here before the slave trade, let's just assume they are wrong to show that don't stop anything because those people are a subset. Okay, so the indigenous claim is a subset. It's not a requirement. You don't have to say you are already here. If you say it, you say it. That's on you. But it's not a requirement for everybody. All right. Now, the core definition of FBA includes descendants of chattel slavery in the United States, foundational contributors to American society, not recent immigrants. Nothing here is about you have to claim you were here before the slave ships. So miss me with that. If some folks said they were here before the slave ships, then that's what they say. You dig? Leaving them alone. Some FBA advocates also believe in pre-slavery indigenous presence. That's what we're speaking about right now. But this is not a mandatory belief to be FBA, which I was saying. Dismissing the entire lineage over a subset belief is intellectually dishonest. These guys are being intellectually dishonest, right? Pan-Africanists don't apply that standard to themselves. Some Pan-Africanists romanticize ancient Egypt or the Moors as their cultural lineage. Both claims are heavily contested by mainstream historians, and yet they are not rejected wholesale for those historical stretches. You dig? So, right back at you, bitch, gotcha, bitch. Is the rejection rooted in anti-Tariq sentiment? So what they do is they say, okay, some FBA say they came from slave ships. Some say slave ship and admixture of indigenous black folks. And then they'll say, okay, but some say they already been here. So you know what? Let's attack them because they know that they got the hardest burden to prove that. So let's attack them and let's make everything ride on that. The whole lineage rides on that. So yes. One second. Let me fix. I got a typo here. I'm so glad I caught this typo. Because this is I'm reading from the PDF that you guys gonna have, by the way. Yes, I put this in your PDF. I know I was supposed to be making it smaller. It's getting long. It's more pages, but it won't be more than 50 something pages. I can't make it smaller. It's too much information. Okay. So the question is the rejection rooted in anti-Tariq sentiment? And the answer is yes. And this is how you know. Because if Melvin Charles, the founder of the Black American Heritage Flag, if he's not called the leader of Black Americans, then calling Tariq Nasheed the leader of FBA just because he popularized the term reveals a double standard. So if you are rejecting an entire ethnonym because of the actions of one person, which they're doing, you're not engaging in honest debate. You're trying to kill the identity by smearing the messenger. This is why they all have to make Tariq Nasheed the leader. And why do I have this background of these witches and warlocks? Okay. Okay. So the bottom line is the core FBA ethnonym. FBA is a political and cultural ethnonym for people whose ancestors were enslaved in what is now the United States. So whether you came over in slave ships, if you admix, you came with slave ships and admixed with the Black indigenous people, or you were already here and you are those Black indigenous people, don't matter. We all endured enslavement in the United States. So that makes us FBA. We all experienced the ethnogenesis later together. We all built America through force and free labor and cheap labor. We all suffered from Jim Crow, sharecropping, redlining, etc. We all had no voluntary immigration or dual loyalties. We all have a unique experience that's different from Black immigrants. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So listen, whether or not, here I come, you cannot, whether or not some early Africans mixed with Native Americans is not the defining feature. And I knew I was going to do that. A little hiccup. Okay. So whether or not some early Africans mixed with Native Americans is not the defining feature of FBA. That's a side conversation, not a disqualifier. Okay. So ethnonyms are claimed, not assigned. They're not assigned. Pan-Africanists are entitled to reject the term for themselves, but not to dismiss or sabotage the right of others to define their lineage. FBA is about self-determination and rejecting it just because Tariq Nasheed reveals more emotional bias than objective reasoning. So they reject it because of Tariq Nasheed. It reveals their emotional bias than objective reasoning. So there's nothing you can do with those folks. Can't talk about it. Let's see how the chat is right now. How the chat feel about that? What the chat looking like? King Quest Oz, Rich Religion LA, The Ancestors, Ursa, Mahan Worlds, Guillory, The Ancestors, Caesar Blue 5. Who else is in the building? We have Tate, Mike D. I got a feeling I know how all this started. Tate, put us on, baby. Pause. DJ X1, that is true. He said to engine number 9. That's a cool engine number 9. That's a cool name. A little play on words. The Watcher is in the building. Breeze Omega, Awakening of the FBA. Tate Mike D said, did they come here because they didn't have rank in the tribe? Tate, you ain't right, man. You ain't right. Okay. Who else in the building? Who else is here? Lorraine Morrow. FBAs are the leaders, and Jamaican and Africa are following. Want to be white. So sad. She says, E-Town. Okay, we got Chosen 1619. All right. I am 6th in the building. Tate said, I used to love African people for no reason, but when I had a conversation with one, he said he can beat me up. I'm like, dang, bank, bank, bank. I could have told him not to play with people like that. Yeah, I don't know what makes, I mean, dang. Y'all got Africans, y'all got to stop. You got all this, the first human being shit got to your head. Majestic. What we do, Alexis Berry is in the building. Okay, I said Ursa Mahan Worlds was in the building. Okay, maybe she still is, but we're rocking. We got True Pilgrim 777. We got Hazardous Shit. You dig? Yeah, some late night live. I felt like let me get this out the way. And this is replayable. This is something I can maybe replay another night, or during the early day where everybody's is, available. Okay. So remember, I'm talking about Pan-Africanists. I'm saying that they attempted to sabotage the civil rights movement of the 60s with negative rhetoric towards our Black activists, calling them coons, sellouts, charged them with wanting handouts, right? Said that they want to be white, they want to be close to whitey. That's kind of similar to Pan-Africanists today. They say we want to be down with Trump, the white man. We want to be conservatives, right? Don't they? I mean, it's kind of like the same rhetoric, just different parties. They also say we're begging for reparations. We just want a handout. So the civil rights activists were told that 60 years ago by these Pan-Africanists. And we're told that now, 60 years later, by these Pan-Africanists. The rhetoric is almost identical. Okay, let's prove that. So, as I stated earlier, Dr. King and the civil rights leaders were just trying. Okay, so the myth is that Dr. King and the civil rights leaders were just trying to assimilate into white society and abandon black institutions. That's wrong, but that is the rhetoric from the conservatives, and I believe the conservatives put that battery in their informants, which are the black Pan-Africanists, just like the uh, Pan-Africanists of the early 1919, you dig, via Marcus Garvey, another informant, I believe, a white supremacist. He literally met with the Klan and tried to arrange funding to finance Foundation Black Americans to repatriate in Liberia. It's like, yo, what? Why you want us in Liberia so bad, Garvey? He didn't care. Garvey didn't care what we had popping over here already. He didn't care about the over 100-year fight for civil rights. He said, man, screw that. Screw investing in America. We out of here. We going to Liberia. Okay, even though he ain't consult with nobody in Liberia, he said we're going to Liberia. Disrespectful tether. He didn't say, hey, FBAs, how can I help you guys? You know, how far along are you with this movement? Nope. Nope. He said, I got something better. Screw what you guys doing. Let's get some steamships. Foolish man. Family, the reality is that the civil rights movement was not about abandoning black businesses and our blackness. It was about dismantling state-enforced racial barriers that locked Black Americans out of opportunities that our labor had built. So the real fight was over in the civil rights. It was over not for handouts and getting close to white folks and eating a cheeseburger from White Star. The real fight was over access to fair wages and public accommodations, voting rights and equal protection under the law, ending legal Jim Crow. Hold on. Just want to make a correction. I got a little typo. Okay. Ending legal Jim Crow, not ending blackness or black identity. So FBA leaders, black leaders such as Dr. King, Bayard Rustin, Ellen Baker, and others were not trying to destroy black schools or black businesses. I know what the conservatives, racist conservatives told you, white racists told you, white supremacists told you. I know what the Pan-Africanists told you. That's not what integration is about. That's not what the civil rights movement is about. Rather, they wanted to make sure that Foundation Black Americans were not systemically blocked from accessing capital, funding, protection, and representation. That's what we were fighting for. All this other stuff, the handout stuff, y'all made that up. Okay, so the real agenda was trying to have access to what our ancestors built. They were responsible of this country having so much wealth, built the economy. So we want some of that money. We want some of that wealth, whether it be loans, you know, stuff like that. We need that. Assistance programs, we need that. That's that can't run without the wealth, without the economy being great. That's our money. Some of that's our money. And actually, stuff like that. So our leaders, our civil rights leaders, they're smart. Dr. King is smart. So we knew about federal housing, the FHA in 1934. We knew about the education, miseducation or unequal education, the GI Bill of 1944. We knew about the farm subsidies. We know that it built the white middle class. Okay, federal housing, just the housing period, HOLC, 1933, 1934, FHA, and 1935, which is a new deal that spilled over to GI Bill. We know that plus the farm cities, all of that built the white middle class. Okay, and we know that highways, universities, and military industrial jobs created wealth pipelines. So yeah, we want to get employed that our cheap labor, our free labor provided those jobs. So we gonna fill out an application. You dig? But Dr. King did say this. He said, "We are coming to get our check." Yeah, I think I forgot about that part. Yeah, I want to talk about the burning house, but I forgot about the part where he talked about reparations. Now I don't know about Malcolm X talking about reparations. I don't know, but he said that. And Malcolm X was a separatist, and he didn't vote. Dr. King did vote. He promoted voting. The civil rights was about protecting our ability to vote, that right, exercising that right. Um, and I don't recall Malcolm X campaigning for reparations, but Dr. King did say the next time we go to Washington, we're coming for a check, right? That sounds like reparations. So that's that coming for our check. That's not a plea to assimilate. It was a demand to share in the wealth created by our ancestors' unpaid labor. Now let's get to, because some folks here, so I'm gonna say it again. So a lot of you guys like to, because of chopped up videos, the whole context wasn't really considered, right? So you ready for this one? Wait. I just happened to look in the chat real fast, and I see a cash chat. Appreciate you, hazardous shit. He says, "My contribution, as always, FBA, the lineage, Freedman, facts." And I appreciate you, Black Matic. DJ X1 said, "Ron, did you hear about in Cape Town, they want to make an all-white country and taking part of it from South Africa?" Really? Yeah, put that link in there. I want to read about that. Yeah, bro, I did promise that. I delivered. It was barely, but I did, bro. I appreciate you for handing those flowers that I kept my word. I appreciate that. Okay. So yeah, so the burning house out of context quote that most people quote, that all of a sudden Dr. King was regretting his partake in the civil rights movement. It's not true. The integrating into a burning house quote is widely used by both white conservatives and Pan-Africanists to frame King as someone who regretted the civil rights movement. So the true context was in 1967. It was a quote to Harry Belafonte. Dr. King was referring to the fact that economic inequality was not being addressed, even as segregation was being legally dismantled. He was not denouncing integration altogether. He was saying we needed a deeper integration that included economic justice. Okay? Not just the symbolic stuff, but some paper. So the fact is, Dr. King supported affirmative action, reparations, and a guaranteed income, right? That don't sound like handouts or kissing the white man backside. So what about white supremacists pushback? Because white supremacists, they didn't like, can we agree that white supremacists did not like the civil rights movement? It was ending their fantasy, their Peter Pan fantasy, Jim Crow. Okay, they love that. Okay, so white racists didn't want Jim Crow to go away, so they had talking points. They spread rumors against the civil rights activists. All right, and then today you have Black conservatives, African conservatives as well, and you have Pan-Africanists today. And both of them have something negative to say about the FBA talking points. For example, let's compare what the white supremacists said to us back in the 1960s and what the Pan-Africanists are saying to us today in 2025. They're going to be very similar. Watch this. So during the civil rights, White folks said Negroes just want handouts. Ain't nothing more, nothing less. Okay. Well, 2025, we out here advocating for reparations, and Pan-Africanists say, hey, man, you just want a handout. White folks in the 1960s said we're lazy and dependent. Well, Pan-Africanists of 2025 say we need to stop depending on the government, pull up our bootstraps, and turn that 2 point something train spending budget into something productive. That's how they gonna talk. White supremacist of 1960 says integration will destroy black culture. That's white supremacists. So all of a sudden they correct. Okay. So well, Africans say we need to separate and do for self. So both were against the civil rights movement. White supremacists said, listen. White supremacists said Dr. King was a communist. That was they're shaming him, throwing dirt on him. Well, look at the Pan-Africanists. They said Dr. King sold out black people to white liberals. The talking points are almost identical, family. White folks, white racists of the 1960s, and Pan-Africanists of 2025. I'm starting to really believe that Pan-Africanist was funded by white supremacists. Okay, so now in 1960, white supremacists said to black people, you just want to be white, but you can never be white. Oh, 2025, Pan-Africanists say fighting for integration is begging the oppressor, the enemy. Okay, so I hate the comparison that we make when we say, hey, man, we could do it by ourselves. This is a Pan-Africanist idea, 100% Black national idea. We got to get out of that. You have to know when you're using, because sometimes we're so against something that we use a remnants of it, don't really realize it. So here's the myth. Pan-Africanists, right? And some Black conservatives, they both would claim that Foundation Black Americans have 2.8 trillion spending power. And because of that, we don't need help. We can be like the Jews. Well, the $2.8 trillion, that's not investment capital. It's a consumer spending, mostly in non-Black owned businesses. So the dollar can't even communicate just yet. Okay. Now, what separatists ignore, okay? They ignore that we don't control supply chains, agriculture, fuel, medicine, etc. We don't control monetary policy, zoning laws, and infrastructure. Even successful Black towns, e.g., Greenwood, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida, were destroyed by mobs and left unprotected by the state. Okay, and then the Jewish community never did it alone. They say the Jewish community, are the best example of doing it by themselves. That's a lie. They got reparations for Germany. They got international networks. Their protected white status in the U.S. and the huge lobbying infrastructure, e.g., APAC. Then I hate it. So the thing is, you want to be a separatist, but are you ready to live off the grid like the Orthodox Jews? Here's a problem. There's a sector called healthcare. It requires hospital licenses, pharmaceuticals, R&D. They're hiring. Education, most must be accredited staff and well funded. Infrastructure, roads, electricity, water, emergency response. National defense, who protects it from sabotage or state retaliation. And banking, regulatory approval, reserves, federal deposit insurance. That's some things we got to think about. Healthcare, education, infrastructure, national defense, if you're trying to do the separatist way. And banking. Okay. So a lot of Pan-Africans overlook the nation building requires military, legal, and logistical infrastructure, not just vibes, land, and slogans like they say. Okay. So why do some Blacks critique echoes white racist talking points? Okay, so some of them are dealing with trauma. Some blacks want to psychologically distance themselves from a history of victimization, class interest. Wealthier black conversations benefit from capitalism and want to align with dominant political narratives. Pan-Africanist rivalry. Some foreign born or diaspora identifying individuals are uncomfortable with um, with foundational Black Americans asserting a non-African lineage identity like FBA and try to undermine it. That's a fact. So glad I got to that. So the undermining narrative, again, is that they'll say we're begging the white man, right? They'll say you're weak, fight your own battle. Okay. So that was the nonviolent resistance. It was labeled cowardly bootlicking. So then that's true. Come on, man. Y'all know that when we heard the turn of the cheek, our thing was okay, that's what's up. But we heard it from black African nationalists saying that. Oh yeah, Cali, you turned the cheek, man. Bootlicking ass. Okay, so we're not just asking for handouts, family. So here are some claims about our civil rights leaders. They say they wanted welfare, affirmative action, or special treatment. Okay, so that was the hate for the civil rights leaders during that time. Hey, man, they just want welfare, affirmative action, or special treatment handouts. Okay, but you compare that to today language towards FBA. They'll say FBAs are accused of asking for reparations for nothing or playing the victim type shit. Okay, I'm just searching. Okay, so even though the groups seem politically opposed, their rhetoric overlaps in function to suppress foundational Black American self-determination. They did it in the 1960s, 60 years later, they're doing it now, right? Civil rights activists, they weren't trying to be close to whites for the 100th time, for the Juneteenth time. They were demanding access to housing, military benefits, schools, loans, and protections. And you think, all right, they were using the U.S. political and legal systems as a strategic battlefield, not seeking cultural assimilation. Aren't okay? So FBA advocates, what they're not doing, they aren't trying to beg, they aren't demanding old resources, reparations, policy protections from a nation whose wealth was built on their backs. And we're not wanting an exclusive recognition of distinct ethnic lineage, not globalist unity nor dependency. So, conclusion: who's really repeating white supremacist talking points? He knows them. I gotta read no more. I gotta read no more on that. Okay. I ain't done though. Okay, I just want to make sure I ended that. Okay, just skimming through. Wondering if I'm trying to figure out if I want to stop or keep looking. All right, whatever. Lost my spot. All right. Where we at in the chat? Chat. Sunrise What's your name? Groy person. Interesting. Uh, let's see. Yeah, having your own conversation, which is good. Which is good. I love the fact that we interact. Yeah, good. You dig? Okay. So let's compare and contrast. Uh, So one more time, civil rights activists were not trying to be close to whites. They were demanding access to housing, military benefits, schools, loans, and protections. They were using the U.S. political and legal systems as a strategic battlefield, not seeking cultural assimilation. That's the civil rights activists. FBA aren't trying to beg either. Okay, we're not trying to get close to whites. We are demanding, and that's another thing. The fact we're saying we're American. Oh, you white man, you white man. Okay. We're using the U.S. political and legal systems as a strategic battlefield, not seeking cultural assimilation. That was the civil rights activist thoughts. Today, FBA advocates, uh, well, not now, but we aren't trying to beg either, and we are demanding all resources, reparation, policy protections from a nation whose wealth was built on our backs. Want exclusive recognition of a distinct ethnic lineage, not globalist unity or dependency. So here's the fact. So who's really repeating white supremacists talking points? Okay. So critics who frame FBA demands as a weak or shameful. So we demand reparations, we demand a check, we demand delineation, we demand self-identification. If you see that as weak or shameful, you're a clown. If you mock reparations as begging, clown, dismiss systemic racism as imaginary, and discourage political participation, they are echoing 1960s segregationist logic, whether they know it or not. Okay, so these false arguments, whether from Pan-Africanists, Black conservatives, or white nationalists, serve the same purpose: to keep Black Americans from organizing around their unique lineage-based justice claims and political goals. Okay, just want to make sure I covered everything. I'm not sure. I kind of like got everything all over the place. How y'all find time to argue with each other? But anyway, family, I think that's it. Yes, I guess we'll speak again around his sometime. Cause somebody got a father that's not around and they beefing. Man, I don't know. My chat, the chat is busy. I don't know what I'm reading the document, but yeah, the chat gotta relax. The chat gotta relax. All right, chat. I'm trying to make sure that's it. And I ain't missing anything. Like I do over tomorrow. Hmm. Okay, I think that's it. I think we did enough. Yeah, I think that's it. We're gonna start right there. Okay, family. I'm skimming through the PDF and I could post some stuff out tomorrow. I think we're gonna run some things in there tomorrow. Like I could do lives, good lives, entertaining plus informational lives based off this tablet alone, based on What? So Sunrise Groyper says, what I have heard of FBA has been third-hand information. This is interesting. Really? So let me hear what you heard. Here. The chat, like, hey, what did you hear? Click that link. Give us like 10, 15 minutes of your time. Then we out. Then if you really, really want to have a dialogue, you would tune in tomorrow morning and where I'm really up. Right now, I'm like winding down, getting ready to take it down. But I want to know what you heard, so I can correct it. You know what I mean? So I can tell you what's fact from what's fiction. I don't want you holding on to some fake talking points that somebody must have gave you that's not true. So if you want to click that right there, Sunrise Groyper, I want to hear what you heard about us. You click the link. You can cut your camera off. You don't gotta show your face, and just talk. I'll give you a few minutes. Matter of fact, while we doing that, while I'm giving you a few minutes, let's go back here real fast. These witches and warlocks.
Kind of rhetoric that, okay, the immigrants see us as ghetto and basic and they don't respect what we've built, and they come over and just take our resources and then abuse us. But then I rarely ever hear Black.
Okay, so Sunrise, were you available and ready this late night to talk about what you heard? I could say if it's fact or fiction. I got the link right there. If you want a phone number, I could do that. And if today's no good, all right, tomorrow then. Okay. Tomorrow then. Okay. You don't do panels, you just listen and ask questions. All right, family. Let's let these women go ahead and hate on us, and then we're gonna close out.
Americans talking about their preconceived ideas about immigrants, because there definitely was, as the same way we had over here, there was definitely like, you fucking Africans, you fucking Caribbeans, you jungle bunnies, you jigaboos, you African booty scratchers. That was that we have had a lot of Black American comedians from way back in the day making jokes about Africans. And we had it over here in the UK too. There was definitely some embarrassment, some derogatory commentary about being African. And we have colorism around the world. And then definitely when you're darker skinned or with a tighter head, they would disrespect to you because you look closer to what Africans look like. So that was when we're talking about the disrespect, I'm not excusing anyone disrespecting anybody. And I definitely don't excuse anyone who's an immigrant coming to a country and disrespecting the original Black inhabitants and looking down on them. But that's probably anecdotal. That is not en masse that every immigrant that comes to America hates Black Americans. That is fundamentally not, it's impossibly true.
What I will say is as well, what I will say that is important, and I've said this and we've all said this and we keep saying the same thing. We keep coming back to this point. The hatred for one another didn't come from us. This is something this is like the biggest tool that has been used against us, Damn,
now we're gonna say, it ain't come from them, it's the white man. Go ahead. So it's the big bad white man.
As Caribbeans, we were told, you don't want to go to Africa. What's in Africa? You don't want to go there. That's what we were told. So what did you do? You never went there. You didn't necessarily.
You were not going there anyway. Like, let's stop the cap. But who told you that? Who told you don't want to go to Africa? And who told you, and how old were you? Okay, keep running your mouth. Help us out.
Interact with African people until you got to like school, or when people came over here during the Windrush generation, and then they started to interact with each other then. But before then,
so the Windrush generation is like around the end of World War II, when a lot of Caribbean people fled to Britain to help build it up, help build up his country, and then once they did that, Master passed some immigration laws, some restrictive immigration laws, and said, "Get the hell out and take your butt back to Jamaica. Get out. Thank you for building this country up. Now get out."
The British Empire did its absolute best to keep us separated and to feed us in our minds about the experience of what is actually home, what's the motherland. That's what they did. It's only when we started to engage with one another and started to look at each other's cultures and be like, oh my God, like you lot do the same thing that we do, that we understood how close we are to each other. And then we started to make these journeys to the Caribbean, to Africa, and started to see that actually we are so similar. And to America, oh my God, we're so similar. We started to experience these things. This is the thing that they didn't want us to know. They don't want us to be unified. They want us to.
There we go with the. Let me write them. All right, let's see if they fall for that. Trying to word it nice. Sound alarm says we're not similar at all. Sound alarm, I sense that you're FBA. Let me make you a moderator and give you a lineage wrench, brother. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Move. Send away. Oh, I can't see.
To still be talking about in this day and age, you're lighter, you're darker, you're richer, you're poorer, you're African, you're Caribbean, you're America. While we're having these fights amongst each other, they're still up here, running things, laughing at us, and laughing at us.
And being connected doesn't mean to say you disown where you're from.
Wait, who is this they that's laughing at them? What are you talking about? Like, you talking about your mom? Is the they their parents? What's the name of this video? Tether Babble. The name of that video is Tether Babble. Yeah. Appealing to authority. Yeah, appealing to emotions. They do a whole bunch of shit.
You can absolutely. I'm going to all day be Ghanaian British. Like, it is what it is. That's who I am. I'm always going to be. My first homeland is Ghana. That is it. It doesn't mean to say now because if I'm unified with the Black Americans and unified with Caribbeans, I don't know, we're breaking some kind of unsaid rule. So in the comments, someone saying, yeah, we don't need to be divided. It's okay to be different. We were never unified. We don't have tribalism. We have unity. You guys have tribalism. It's very, very fucking wild. And I wanted to talk about even
but
like
you just said that someone in the comments was cussing you for saying that you had soul food in Northern America. Exactly. So how unified are you if you're saying that if you have soul food in New York, it's not soul food? Exactly. How really unified?
There's also something like just natural DNA. Because in that commentary with Adonis kissed his teeth. He went, and I said, that right there, do you know how universally Black that one gesture is? And I did not learn how to kiss my teeth from Black Americans. I never heard it on screen. I heard it in my home. I mean, I never
in my house. I heard it in my house.
I heard kiss teeth.
I thought everybody did that. There's certain things as a Black.
Yeah, after you learned it from us, you thought everybody did it. All right, family, I'm out. Good night.